Hey everyone, Liam here. When Morgan Freeman walked into one of Manhattan's most luxurious rooftop restaurants, wearing nothing more than a wrinkled linen shirt, comfortable loafers, and a well-worn cap, nobody gave him a second glance. He didn't arrive in a limousine. He didn't come with bodyguards or reservations under a publicist's name. In fact, to most of the staff, he looked like any other old man who'd wandered in from Central Park. And that's exactly how he liked it. But that night, a new waitress, ambitious, confident, and utterly clueless, would try to remove him from what she believed was a VIP table. What she didn't realize was that the man she was about to humiliate wasn't just any customer. He was the owner. And more than that, he was about to give the entire restaurant a lesson in humility, class, and the kind of dignity you can't learn from hospitality school. It was a Friday evening at the Skylark Room, one of New York's most exclusive rooftop dining spots. The city skyline shimmered in the background, casting golden reflections on the glassware and champagne flutes that dotted each table. Inside, everything sparkled, from the guests' designer jewelry to the waiters' polished shoes. Among the sea of influencers, tech moguls, and trust fund darlings, there was one man who seemed out of place. He sat in the farthest corner of the terrace, in the shadows, sipping a glass of red wine with quiet grace. He wore a soft blue linen shirt, slightly wrinkled from the day's heat. His cap was tilted low. His loafers, though clean, had clearly walked a few miles. But if you looked past the clothes, if you heard his voice, you'd recognize the man instantly. Morgan Freeman. Most of the veteran staff knew him. How could they not? He'd been quietly visiting the Skylark Room every Friday since he bought the place 6 months ago. After the original owners struggled during the pandemic, Morgan had stepped in, not to make a profit, but to preserve something rare. Real hospitality, he had told the manager, isn't about chandeliers or 5-course meals. It's about how you make people feel. And so, when he purchased the restaurant, he gave strict instructions. Treat me like any other customer. No special treatment. No fanfare. But Vanessa, the new waitress hired just 2 weeks ago, didn't know any of this. Fresh out of an elite hospitality program, she had ambitions to be the next big thing in luxury service. Her Instagram feed was filled with latte art, rooftop views, and quotes about excellence and elevation. To her, elegance was everything. So when she saw an older man, dressed plainly and alone, occupying one of the restaurant's best tables, she saw a problem. Vanessa had been floating between tables, complimenting handbags and gushing over social media influencers when her eyes landed on him. "Who let that guy sit there?" she muttered under her breath. She straightened her blazer, touched up her lipstick using her phone camera, and headed over, heels clicking confidently on the hardwood. Across the room, Eli, the longtime maitre d', noticed. His eyes widened. He whispered frantically to the assistant manager, "She's about to make the biggest mistake of her life." But before anyone could stop her, Vanessa was already at the table. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her smile tight. "Are you dining alone this evening?" Morgan looked up, eyes calm, voice like velvet. "Yes, I am." She hesitated. "I'm afraid this table is reserved for larger parties. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at the bar." Morgan glanced around. The table next to him was empty. So was the one behind him. "I'm comfortable right here," he replied, sipping his wine. Vanessa's smile faltered slightly. "With all due respect, sir, this section is usually reserved for our premium clientele, guests ordering our full tasting menu." Morgan raised an eyebrow. "I've already placed my order. The chef knows what I like." Across the room, Luis, a dishwasher who had grown up watching The Shawshank Redemption with his grandfather, dropped a plate. He stared in disbelief. "Does she not know who that is?" he whispered to a busboy. Vanessa pushed forward. "Sir, our establishment has certain standards. We want to ensure that every guest has the appropriate ambiance." Morgan placed his glass down slowly and deliberately. His posture never changed, but the atmosphere did. "I see," he said. "And what kind of ambiance do you think I'm disrupting?" Vanessa gestured subtly toward a group of young entrepreneurs in designer suits taking selfies. "Our regular guests come here for a specific experience, one that aligns with modern luxury." Morgan's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "Modern luxury," he repeated, as if tasting the words. Vanessa misread the smile as sarcasm. "We're not just any rooftop bar, sir. This is a place for the refined, the successful." At that moment, Luis stepped forward. "Miss Vanessa," he said quietly, "I think we should—" "Not now," she snapped. "Go back to the kitchen." Morgan's gaze followed Luis, then returned to Vanessa. "You shouldn't speak to him that way." "With all due respect, sir," Vanessa replied, "this isn't some casual diner. This is the Skylark Room." Morgan reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "Jerry," he said calmly, "could you bring up the ownership documents, please? And the renovation plans, too." He ended the call and placed the phone on the table. Vanessa blinked. I'm sorry. What?" Morgan leaned back slightly, folding his hands. 6 months ago," he said, "this place was about to shut down. I stepped in, not for the clout, not for the tax breaks, but because this place used to mean something." By now, the entire restaurant had gone quiet. Guests leaned in, servers froze mid-step. Even the executive chef peeked out from the kitchen. Morgan continued, his voice warm but firm. "Used to be. A place like this welcomed everyone. A businessman, a teacher, a janitor. Didn't matter what you wore or how many followers you had." Vanessa's face had gone pale. "I asked the staff to treat me like anyone else, because I believe respect isn't something you demand with a price tag. It's something you give freely, or you don't understand it at all." Luis was now standing near the table, hands clasped nervously. Morgan turned to him. "Son, what's your name?" "Luis," he said quietly. Morgan nodded. "Thank you for trying to help earlier. That took courage." Then he looked back at Vanessa. "You judged me the moment you saw my shirt. You assumed who I was, or wasn't. But you have a choice now." Vanessa's eyes shimmered. "You can walk away and find a place where image matters more than substance. Or you can stay and learn what this place is really about." At that moment, Jerry, the restaurant's accountant, walked in with a leather folder. He handed it to Morgan with a respectful nod. Morgan placed the ownership papers on the table. "Luis," he said, "how would you like to begin training as a waiter? I think we need more people around here who understand what service really means." Luis's eyes widened. Yes, sir. I'd be honored." Morgan turned back to Vanessa. "And you?" She blinked away tears. I'd like to stay, if you'll allow me to learn." Morgan smiled. "Good answer." As he picked up his glass of wine once more, the room slowly exhaled. The tension dissipated. Guests began to applaud, not because of the man's fame, but because of the integrity he displayed. Because sometimes The real lesson isn't about who someone is. It's about how you treat them when you think they're no one. Today, the Skylark Room is still one of New York's most elegant restaurants. But if you visit on a Friday evening, you might find a quiet man in a linen shirt, sitting at the corner table, sipping his wine and watching over the place, not with pride, but with purpose. This was Liam. If you enjoyed this story about respect, humility, and second chances, hit that like button and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been underestimated because of how you looked? What did you do next? See you in the next story.